Hello and welcome back to Nerdy History, a show where we talk about the lore and history from reality to fiction. I'm Blake.
I'm Mason.
Today we're talking about the dragons from A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier about this. You don't know basically anything about the dragons
Nope.
from...
I know they're generally dragons, but like anything specific, no.
Okay. We're not... I was going to originally talk about like 3 different dragons, kind of keeping with the motif of like, you know, the Targaryen sort of imagery of like 3 dragons, blah, blah, blah. I was going to talk about 3 dragons. I had them picked out and everything, and then I decided, well, I'm going to talk about more of like the origins of the dragons in general, and then it just kept changing. Eventually, I figured out that I'm just going to talk about one dragon. It's a dragon that not too many people talk about, or at least what I found. There is a couple really good videos out there, but not too many videos on this dragon. Just mainly because there's not that much we know about it. Some of the stuff we do is kind of more speculation than anything else, really.
Okay.
But I do think it's kind of a cool dragon. In terms of like the main story and where we're at now, it's dead. So it's in the current span of things, it has no relevancy.
So at the start of Game of Thrones, basically all except for those 3 eggs, is that what the situation was? Or
like no dragon? Yeah. At the beginning of the first book, so at the beginning of Game of Thrones, there's no dragons. At the end of that book, we see dragons. And then it's go into the second book. And,
okay.
But like what? I think where we are right now, Drogon, and by extension, I guess the other dragons too, are like 7 years old.
Okay. So pretty young still.
Yeah, I think it's 7.
Are there dragons outside of Westeros, or are they kind of regional, or do we just not know?
Well, so they're from Essos, right? That's where the dragons, the Targaryens, and the Valerians and everything came from, is from Essos. Now, I paused for a second because it's like there may have been dragons in Westeros before the Targaryens came over and stuff. Don't really know it for sure.
Okay. That's
kind of actually what this dragon sort of... We'll have a little discussion on that. But, yeah, for the most part, they're from, like, Essos. That's where everyone's like, yeah, that's where they came from. But who knows? But the dragon we're talking about, it's called the Cannibal.
The Cannibal.
Cannibal. It's called that because, well, we'll get into that. All right. Now, what we know about the Cannibal is he is one of 3 dragons, 3 black dragons that we know about. The other 2 being Balerion the Black Dread and Drogon, which is Daenerys' dragon. Balerion the Black Dread being Aegon the Conqueror's dragon. But those are the only other black dragons we know about. So it's Balerion, Drogon, and Cannibal.
So what's the color signify?
Well,
is that just a pure color thing, or is it kind of like a...
It's just like a interesting... So it doesn't like mean like, hey, it's a black dragon, it's more powerful or something, but it's just... I don't know. It's just the only other one that we've seen that's black, so it's like some significance, maybe.
Okay.
Possibly.
But it is truly just a color thing.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we'll say Drogon and Balerion they're both black dragons, and they have red eyes and like slightly red features, you know, in places, and they're the flame, or the fire that they breathe is black with like red streaks shooting through it.
Oh, interesting.
But the Cannibal has green eyes and green flame.
Okay. Do the flame colors relate to real world flames, or are they kind of pretty fantasy?
Pretty fantasy.
Okay.
I think, well, the dragons, so like their scale color dictates their fire color, pretty much. Like there's I can't remember the name of the dragon right now, but it's a pink scaled dragon, and so it's pink flame. Like it's kind of...
Gotcha.
It's something that, like, if you're just watching the shows, you'll never know about it, but it's kind of a cool detail.
Yeah.
At least I think it's a cool detail. But it's also kind of interesting that the other 2 black dragons breathe black flame, and this one breathes green flame. Mm-hmm. So there may be something behind all that. I'm not too sure. Also, potentially the oldest, Balerion is, by the time of his death, is like 210 or 212.
Okay.
And Drogon, the other black dragon, is only like 7. But the Cannibal is like 230, maybe a little bit older than that.
Okay, so Game of Thrones dragons are a good bit younger than a lot of other fantasy.
Oh yeah, like I've been there for like thousands of years.
Yeah, the like
dragon.
D&D,
Yeah.
they're all thousands of years old.
But it's also, so Balerion is like said to have died of old age.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some things that happened prior to that where it's like he got attacked basically by a fireworm.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what that is, but he basically got a big gash on him, and then soon after died. And they were like, "Oh, I was old age." I was like, maybe. Like, we're kind of jumping to that really fast, but
Yeah.
maybe. And you also see like dragons all over where it's like, given the amount of space and how much food they consume, they're, grow a lot bigger and better in their environment. So there's a lot more unknowns with these dragons than other dragons that, from other things like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Or like Aragon or stuff like that. Another interesting thing about this dragon is so during Dance of Dragons, that's where we see the Cannibal brought up, basically, is in that timeline is where we learn about him. There are 3 wild dragons.
Okay.
There's the Cannibal, Sheep Stealer, and Sea Smoke. No, I know I'm getting that wrong. It's like Gray Ghost or something like that. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'll pull it up. I can at least do that. So Cannibal has never been claimed by anybody, never been tamed, right? So he's just been a wild dragon on Dragonstone, and the reason he's called the Cannibal is because he raids the hatcheries and eats the young dragons.
Gotcha.
Now I say no one's ever been able to tame him, but I will mention that there's a character that I don't think we've mentioned before on here, so I don't think you'll know of him. But it's Corus Velaryon, and slight spoilers if you don't want to spoil like potentially season 3 for House of the Dragon. Just get forward like 5 minutes maybe. That was all the warning you get. So he dies. Okay.
I don't feel like that big of a spoiler, but
It's really not. He's also like pretty old, so it's like inevitable that he's gonna die. But you know, there's gonna be someone out there who's, oh, really?
Well, I mean, everyone's dead by the time, or almost everyone's dead by like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So
I'll talk about one character that dies pretty brutally in that show, or will die pretty brutally. But when he dies, for some weird reason, the Cannibal just flies over his funeral. And it's mentioned that it's kind of does what seems like a salute almost to it, like the way it's flying. And it's just like, did he claim that dragon? Now he's not a Targaryen, right? He's Velaryon, but he's Valerian.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like some of the dragon DNA, and there's other things to it. But it's just the only time it's mentioned, it specifically said like salute.
So, and with the like claiming a dragon, is that so like in Aragon it's a pretty like magical process and stuff, or is it kind of a just
As long as you
like
don't get eaten, you're good.
Like human relationship kind of thing?
Kind of.
Versus like some kind of magical pact?
Well, there's been like a thing that's done, which is like when there's a dragon egg, they'll take it and they'll put it in the crib with the baby, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So even before it's born, it's like helps with like a connection.
Somewhat bonded.
Pretty much. That's basically all the real, and that's even more recent times.
Okay.
That's not like they've always. It's more fair. I mean, around this time that we're kind of talking about is when that sort of happens. So, and there's no like real, or at least I don't think, where it's like, yeah, it definitely helps.
No, like super obvious.
Yeah, it's more like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Except for the one time when a dragon hatched in the crib.
And then ate the kid?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah.
It was also horrifying I've seen images. I don't know if it's like an official image, but I'll put it up right now. It's a freaky looking dragon. It's like all like bony and like it's weird. But yeah, it's like the one time where it's like hatched and just like immediately was like, I'm gonna eat you now.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name?
I can't remember who the baby was, or whose baby it was. I don't think the baby died. I can't remember. But I remember.
Just maul it.
I think so. I think someone whoever put their arm in there to get the dragon. I think they may have either just got bit or their arm. I don't know. I don't remember that area very well, but it's an interesting thing that happened.
Yeah, Conrad Kerr's dragon.
Do what?
Conrad Kerr's-esque dragon. He ate a dude as a baby.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. Somehow he turned to chaos.
Now, it's interesting to note that he's the only dragon that we know about that eats other dragons.
Okay, so cannibalism's not a common thing with them.
Not really. Unless you count like during a fight,
they're fighting.
If they like chomp at you and get a little,
yeah.
But like that's not like going out of their way to eat, especially eat a young dragon.
So when he's has this been an always thing for him, or is
that
it
we know of?
Like, are they big enough to even be like good food, or is it just more of a?
That's the thing. It's like sheep stealer is a wild dragon. It's called sheep stealer because it steals sheeps. Why not just go get sheep? Get. I mean,
Are these like super small dragons, or are these like horse side, like fresh, like super small?
I mean, they're small. I mean, probably about forearm size, I would guess.
So like smaller than humans, even.
Small, yeah. So it's like, why are you eating these? And then there's the risk of like potentially running into like the mama dragon too. Like that's not. I mean, you're probably one of the oldest dragons around. I'm sure you're not afraid of other dragons, but it's like, go get like snatch up like 3 cows at one time or something. Like, go fill up on something.
It's not just for food at that point.
And that's the other thing too. It's like, so one of the theories kind of is maybe the reason he does it is because it's not a dragon from the Targaryen lineage, and that he's potentially eating the Targaryen dragons because he's trying to get rid of like rival dragon lineage.
Okay.
The other thing would probably was like magic, and it's like if like you eat, is it like you eat dragons, you gain like a power up or something, and that'd be coming from like Bearmere Sixskins, where he kills and then eats the heart of the person who showed him how to be a skin changer. And does it for like magical purposes. So I was like, is us learning about that, and that happens in the current timeline of events, learning about that sort of like a way to like connect that. Maybe it's like he eats other dragons, gets a little bit more powerful or something.
Has any human really eaten a dragon or bits of dragons or anything?
Ooh, not that I know of, but if I'm gonna look that up, if there is, I'll put it up there. But I don't think so.
The Twinborn Chronicles series, there's a whole big thing where they start eating a dragon. Yeah. And like everyone who eats a bunch of it becomes like fire resistant. And so I'm wondering if there's anything like that where it's like an obvious connection. Yeah. Or if it's just like most things a little bit more subtle with Game of Thrones.
And that could be like, if he is from the Targaryen clutch of eggs, and is one of the 3 black dragons who breathes green flame. Maybe that could be why, right? Maybe he's more powerful. Maybe his heat is better, But I like to believe that he's not. That it's not magical.
He's just doing it.
Just like not part of the Targaryen lineage.
Okay.
Because the Targaryens aren't the first ones to be on Dragonstone. Okay. So the Valyrians established Dragonstone. I think it's 200 years before the Targaryens ever come there. And I mean, there was the fortress that was there before they got there, and the fortress is made of fused black stone. And the only way that we know that you can get fused black stone is with dragons. And so all of these, dragon riders came over, built it. Obviously, they would have used dragons. So clearly there were dragons there before the Targaryens, 200 years before the Targaryens got there.
Mm-hmm.
And when they left and then the Targaryens got there, maybe there was that, maybe Cannibal was already there. And, you know, he is either recently, he would have to have been, like, recently hatched.
Mm-hmm.
And is, like, freshly awake and just like, fuck are all these other dragons doing here?
Yeah. Like, he can instantly know they're not his relatives or anything.
Because we do know that, and I'm forgetting everyone's name right now. The Targaryens that went over there, he brought 5 eggs, or 5 dragons, already born dragons, one of them being Balerion, much younger than he is, like, during the conquest and stuff. Or no, he's not that much. But brings 5 of them, one of them being Balerion. But by the time of the conquest, there's only 3, and 2 of them were recently born, more recent than... So it's like, what happened to the 4 other dragons that they brought? Is it like, was there fighting going on down there?
Okay.
Were there more than just Cannibal, and he was the last one of, like, that lineage to survive? Was it just Cannibal, and he was strong enough to kill the others? Is it just a coincidence, and the 4 dragons happened to die off or leave, and is Cannibal one of the, like, you know, there's a lot we don't know.
Questions, yeah. Which, how big is Cannibal?
Size-wise, we don't know, really. I mean...
You don't have any specifics or comparisons?
Like I think it's mentioned that, like, Vhagar is bigger than him. But all the size... Like, we don't have anyone going out there going, yep.
Measuring them or anything.
Yeah. So it's all, like, eyewitness accounts of being like, that's a big dragon. And then seeing, like, Cannibal crouching in the cave going, I bet he's big, but he's not as big as that thing who's, like, blocking the sun, you know? So it's...
Is Vhagar the biggest one, or is he...
She is currently... Well, currently in...
During House of the Dragons.
Yeah.
Okay.
That we know about. Like, Cannibal's older.
So biggest living during that time.
Yeah, Cannibal's older.
Okay.
So, and there is, like, the mention, too, of... So, on Dragonstone, dragons thrive there because of the volcanoes there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really thrive there. In fact, it's mentioned that dragons born in the dragon pit in King's Landing do not do nearly as good as these dragons here. But he kind of is, from what I know, is, like, mainly in, like, the caves and, like, everything. So maybe he's not out a lot growing bigger. So I'm in my head, he's older, but probably not bigger than Vhagar.
Okay.
Don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe it's just, like, eventually, you know, he is older, so he just happens to be bigger. But I like to believe that he's in there so much that he's kind of stunted his own growth. Now, one event that I do want to mention that isn't, it's not solely about him, but it does, he is in it, like it happened. It's the sowing of the seeds, or the, I forget what else it's called. It's like the red seeds, or the sowing of the red, or something like that. But it's during Dance of Dragons when, you know, you got the blacks on Dragonstone.
Mm-hmm.
They find all these bastards, Targaryen bastards, and bring them to the pits. They're not called pits on Dragonstone. But they bring them to Dragonstone.
Mm-hmm.
And they try and get them to bond with some of the dragons. They're trying to, like, take all these bastards and be like, well, hey, maybe they can claim them. Now we have more dragons, more dragon riders.
Yeah.
We're essentially going to win this thing. So they bring them down there. Doesn't go as well as they thought it would.
Dragons start eating?
Yeah. Some of them get some dragons, but there is one. There is a Silver Danny's. He tries to claim Sheep Stealer,
mm-hmm.
and instead Sheep Stealer bites his arm off. And before it can go any further, Cannibal sort of drives Sheep Stealer off,
mm-hmm.
and then eats Silver Danny's and his kids too.
Why were his kids there?
I think that, well, they would have been, like, had the blood too.
So they were like, "Oh, you try as well."
Yeah.
Do dragons even, like, respect kids, like, at all?
I don't think they view them any different than anything else.
I'm just thinking, like, at least, like, a warrior dude would have some level of respect from him versus just like a toddler. How intelligent are the Game of Thrones dragons? Are they like fully sentient? Are on the like superhuman level intelligence to like animal? Where
I've always just seen them as like animalistic.
Okay.
But I mean, they're not just like stupid, you know.
No,
they're not. They're not winning a chess match with any of the Lord of the Rings dragons.
Yeah.
But they're like not like bumping into walls, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, they're smart predators at minimum.
Yeah, it's always like there's a bond between the dragon and the dragon rider, but like you don't feed that dragon for a couple days. You see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Of course, Valerian and how Cannibal did a flyover, potentially meaning that one of two things. Either one, he recognized him as someone of his family, like of that bloodline somehow, or two, which is still recognized him as that part of that bloodline, but that he actually claimed him.
Okay.
Like, went into the pits down there and like snuck in and claimed the cannibal. Don't know about that for sure, but like could be it. I mean, so the Valerians and whatever family was on Dragonstone before the Targaryens were there at the same time, so they would have like intermarried.
Okay.
And that bloodline would have been passed through, so maybe. Alrighty. Well, that's going to be all for this video. If you heard something you liked during this, like any of the other dragons that we were talking about or any of the other events, let us know. We'll definitely look into making a video about anything you found interesting on this. Our next video is going to be a real history video, and Mason is going to tell you just a little bit about that.
The next video is going to involve donkeys, steam engines, and cannons. Check in next time for that video.
Okay, well, if you like the video, let us know in the comments below, and see you next time. If male platypus don't lay eggs, I will make it my life's mission to make sure that I am eventually right about that.